Hey guys, good morning. It is Wednesday, February 1st. There wasn't a post yesterday. There wasn't a post on Monday either. Unfortunately, I did have some family issues and I could not make the videos. Seems to be on the mend now. We'll see, but hopefully I'll try to stay on it and keep you guys posted as quickly as possible. But it is the start of a new month. We had our end of month yesterday. We had a fairly good month given, kind of a slowdown in the economy. We're feeling it. But for the most part, it's been pretty good. So we're going to get right into it. I actually have a Zoom meeting here in 9 minutes. So that's my absolute cutoff. So let's jump into it. Several things to talk about. I'm going to talk about gold in a second, but overall the market is down about 350 points right now. Most of this is just because we're waiting on the Fed decision that's coming at noon local time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Everyone's very anxious about what's going to happen. I think it's interesting. I personally have the opinion that Jerome Powell is going to still raise it half a percentage point, whereas a lot of people are saying it's only going to be 0.25%. We'll see if that pans out to be true. I just don't think inflation is still at those numbers where he's going to feel comfortable. He's been very hawkish, so I think that trend is going to continue. He's got access to data we don't, so that's why I think he's going to be raising it a full half percentage. But we'll see. Hopefully it's just 0.25%, and they're saying that if he raises 0.25% this time, at the March meeting, he's only going to raise it another 0.25%, and then possibly pause through May and into the summer. So we'll see. That'll be interesting. The nice thing is mortgage rates are down. We've talked about this in previous videos that mortgage rates are down. And then in May, they're going to be changing a few of the regulatory standards in order to lower fees. So I think mortgage rates might actually drop here in the next little bit. I haven't seen too much difference in the local market as far as real estate goes. Our prices, I still argue, have remained unchanged, but it's still good news for anyone looking to buy. I'm actually probably going to be selling my home and getting a new one this year. I really want to. We'll see if that actually pans out. I'll keep you guys updated on that as well. But that's good news for anyone that is looking to refinance and anyone that is looking to buy. So let's get to gold. So gold is up. It's at 1945. Its trend is continuing. We will see how it reacts to the Fed decision. But I think that something is coming in February. I'm going to keep saying it, that something is coming in February. Again, I'm not a gold guy. I don't invest in gold, but I know gold is a market because one of our industries is in the alloy business, and we have issues when gold goes up. That just seems to be the trend. When gold starts to skyrocket and hit these $2,000 numbers, it's either the response to an economic crash or it means that an economic crash is coming. And I don't mean like a small blip. I mean something major. It did this up to 2008. It did this right after 2008, before recovery actually started. It did this during COVID, during the lockdown, and it's on the climb again. It has never been this high in a market that really has pretty positive results. We'll in fact talk about some of the issues, some of the stories where it shows that the market is doing really well. It's never had it where the market is doing well and numbers are this high without something looming. Maybe this is a fluke. Maybe people are just investing their money differently. But gold, I think, has always been more of an indicator than an investment. Outside of, conservative talking points, nobody really invests in gold. It's a nice talking point for Ben Shapiro, but most people don't go to Birch Gold and buy gold coins or use gold IRAs. Outside of libertarian societies, that just doesn't happen. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm not trying to, punch down or punch up. I'm just saying that it's not a usual trend for most people. But let's get to some of the more interesting stories. So let's talk about General Motors. This was yesterday's story. So General Motors had an amazing quarter. They totally killed it, partly because of EVs. I had to get a sip of Monster. So earnings were up $2.12 versus the expected estimated $1.69. Total revenue topped $43.11 billion versus an estimated $40.65 billion. They are up heavily from last year because the previous year they had $1.35 per share and a revenue of $33.58 billion. So this year, 2022, was a fantastic year for them. They're investing heavily in EVs. They are coming out with all new EV lines of the Equinox, the Blazer, many others. They've got the Hummer coming, which is an exciting one. Personally, I've never been a Hummer fan. I don't like them, but there's a lot of talk about those cars. My brother, who does have a YouTube channel, Schwazy underscore, check him out. He loves that Hummer. He thinks it's a great kind of American piece of history. It has been 20 years since that car first came out, so it's going to be interesting to see how this one sells. The next story is McDonald's. Oh, no, and another thing with GM. So what's interesting is they are actually also investing heavily in lithium resources. So maybe there are other companies that do this. I haven't found any information on it. But they are actually partnering with Lithium America with a large lithium deposit and a large lithium mine in Nevada. So they've got first position for all new lithium mineral rights. So that's going to make their job a lot easier. That's very interesting. That shows how behind EVs they're going, that they're actually buying actual resources. I don't know if companies used to do this with oil. Haven't heard of it. I have heard of airlines doing this. I know Delta has invested in refineries and had first positions and had set themselves up to have lower fuel costs, especially when fuel costs are high. I've not heard of any car company doing this with lithium. Perhaps Tesla doesn't, but I have not found any information on it. That does give you an idea of how serious GM is taking EVs. The next story is McDonald's. McDonald's also had an amazing quarter. $2.59 per share versus a $2.45 expected. Revenue of $5.93 billion versus an estimated $5.68 billion. They're blaming inflation. Well, I guess they're not blaming. I guess they're saying the reason is inflation. People aren't eating out at the bigger restaurants as much, coming to them. That could be true. Sometimes people just want a little fast food. They don't want to cook. They're just going to run down to McDonald's rather than ordering takeout from somewhere more expensive. I kind of buy that argument. Salesforce is cutting jobs. Salesforce cutting 525 jobs, but they're saying this isn't because of overhiring. They're saying it's because of slowdown. So that is interesting. That's all of the major stories going on in the market right now. I want to talk about one that's local that I'm very excited about. I try to bring you guys local stories as often as possible. This is supposed to be a business channel geared at Utah. It's just oftentimes business stories in Utah are scarce. This is one that personally affects me because I have property in Bear Lake. So Bear Lake is trying to expand the Bear Lake Winterfest. If you were there, I was there. I was jumping into the polar plunge. I was doing the 5K. So I go up to Bear Lake often. I do have property up there. I am invested up there. I'm planning to build for an Airbnb, hopefully maybe this year to next year. It's still very hard to find contractors and costs are still through the roof. But it is interesting because Bear Lake is booming in the summer all the time. It has had a little bit of a downturn post-COVID. So during COVID, it was packed. I've never seen it as busy as it was from 2020 to 2022. I would say early 2022. But now it's definitely had a slowdown. I did look at acquiring more property up there. And when I did, I got to see that person that was selling has a rental. He has an Airbnb that he rents out every year. And so I got to see his rental information when I was looking to buy during due diligence. Sorry, I'm at work. So I was looking to buy his place and I did the due diligence. I looked at his rental rates and his rates were down. His rentals were down. Usually he's booked all through the summer. He books through the summer early. So in the spring, his summer is already booked. That's how the trend had been all through 2020, all through 2021. In 2022, it was not the same story. It was definitely falling. So it's interesting to see that market had a downturn early. But back to the original story. So Bear Lake is usually booming in the summer, but in the winter, it doesn't have much to do. There's some snowmobiling, there's some ski resorts nearby, but it's not an area that's avidly gone to during the winter. So the Winterfest is what they're planning to turn into a much more larger event to attract more tourism. And it's interesting because they do try to make it a little bit bigger and a little bit more professional every year. I've been doing it for a number of years now, and there's more and more events there. So there's free snowmobile days, there's chili cook-offs, there's boat races, there's the polar plunge that I do every year. And they're planning to expand that and make it a little bit bigger. So I'm very looking forward to that. Hopefully, we'll cover more of that as it comes. There's a lot of resorts that are being built there. Most famously, the Water's Edge Bear Lake Resort. It's a multi-billion-dollar resort that's being built up there. So there's definitely development coming into that area. I'm personally invested in it, and I'll be interested to see where it goes. Anyway, I got to get going. I'm already late for my meeting, but I will talk to you guys tomorrow.